Welcome to Ag Defense Risk Management's video entitled What's All the Fuss About Livestock Risk Protection. In this video, we're going to explain LRP in a way that helps identify the reasons why you might want to consider LRP now or at some point in the future. My name is Davey Jones, and I'm involved with Ag Defense Risk Management in the role of recruiting and training. One of our core values here is no hype, just help. So while you may not be overly impressed with the technical quality of this video, we do hope the information we share will prove to be worth your time to listen in. Before we go too far into the livestock risk protection or LRP, it's probably a good idea for us to spend a couple of minutes looking at some background and history of the program. First of all, LRP is a product that is offered through and administered by the Federal Crop Insurance, which is overseen by the Risk Management Agency and the USDA. It has been available in its original form for well over a decade, but there were some significant changes made to the program in 2020. The most notable of the changes were, one, the subsidy level was increased from a flat 13% to levels ranging from 30 to 45%. Before these changes, the premium for the price protection was paid at the time of purchase. As a result of the new guidelines, the premium is now billed on the first day of the month after the end date of your coverage, meaning valuable operating capital isn't tied up for months to purchase price protection. Another of the notable changes was extending the ownership requirement from 30 days prior to the end date out to 60 days prior to the end date. And finally, where cow-calf operations used to have to wait until calves were born to purchase price coverage, that is no longer a requirement. So part of the fuss about LRP is that these changes have made LRP a much more attractive alternative for price protection than it had been in the past before these new rules were implemented. As we get into the content of our presentation, I think it's important to point out the difference in a couple of terms very quickly. Marketing is best defined as getting the best price for something that you're selling. And price protection is best defined as avoiding selling something at a price below a specific target amount. The first slide is a top 10 list of what producers most commonly consider to be the most important when they are looking for price protection. Of course, there are some others, but these are the top 10. Number one is create a legitimate stop-loss price. Number two, a transparent and simple process. Number three, no margin calls. Number four, no delivery date, weight, or quality requirements. Number five, preserve participation in upmarket potential. Number six, avoid solvency issues with buyers. We all remember the Eastern Cattle Company debacle. Number seven, be the least expensive option up front while accomplishing these other goals. And number eight, be the least expensive option overall while accomplishing these other goals. Number nine, no need to maintain a brokerage account. And number 10, losses would be settled on a cash basis rather than the futures market. Again, you might want to add an item or two, but these are the 10 most requested in our experience. It makes sense at this point to answer the question, what are the other ways cattle producers can use to protect the price of their cattle? And another valid question is, how do they compare with LRP? The next few slides will help us look at how to best answer both of these questions. The first alternative we'll look at is a traditional hedge. Hedging obviously has its place, but let's take a look at how well it fits the bill when the primary goal is price protection. As you can see on the graphic, it does create a stop loss, and it dodges the delivery requirements. and avoids issues with buyers. However, the other 7 priorities on the list are not typically satisfied with the use of a hedge. We can discuss each of these in more depth in person if you'd like, but if we flesh this out completely as we go, this would likely end up being a very long video, longer than most would want to watch. So we'll just hit the main points for now. The second alternative would be a delivery contract. This is a very commonly used method to lock in a price on livestock. Just as is the case with hedging, delivery contracts have their place in the livestock industry. But how well do they really satisfy the top 10 list for price protection? This approach connects on 4 of the 10, but it still falls short in 6 of the key areas. The next example is more comparable to livestock risk protection than the first 2 that we looked at. Put options can be very accurately considered a risk management tool specifically designed to protect against a decline in price. It also has a significant liquidity feature that LRP does not provide. Even though it's very similar, as we lay it alongside the top 10 list, there are still 5 of the 10 priorities where it falls behind. It appears fair to say that when we look at the traditional ways that cattle producers have turned to in the past, at best, they have been getting half of what they want, and in some cases, quite a bit less than half. Now, let's see how well LRP fits in with the same top 10 list. Number 1, it creates a stop loss. Number 2, it's transparent and simple. In fairness, there are quite a few more moving parts, but it's not complicated for the most part. Number 3, there are no margin calls with LRP. Number 4, you have absolutely no date, weight, or quality delivery requirements. Number 5, participation in an up market is 100% preserved, less the cost of the LRP. Number 6, there are no buyers involved, so no solvency issues exist. Number 7, there's 0 upfront expense, and LRP accomplishes all of the other goals. Number 8, LRP is also less expensive overall due to the subsidy levels while accomplishing these other goals. Number 9, no broker is involved, so there's no need to maintain a brokerage account. And number 10, LRP is settled using the feeder cattle index, which is a USDA summary of cash sales, not futures prices. With all this on full display, side by side, it becomes a little easier to see what all the fuss is about LRP. Before the recent changes in the program, there were just a few small advantages of LRP over a put option. Now that those changes have been made, there are quite a number of commodity brokers getting licensed to sell federal crop insurance in order to be able to offer LRP to their clients in addition to put options and hedges. You may find yourself in agreement that this sounds like the best way to price protect your cattle. However, just agreeing will never keep you from getting caught in the death spiral like we have seen from time to time. It's hard to know when to pull the trigger on almost anything that has to do with pricing. Emotion can often prove to be our biggest enemy in many ways. Tomorrow always looks like a better time to sell, to buy, to contract, or to buy LRP. So what's the perfect plan? I honestly don't know. General Patton may have said it best when he made this revealing statement. A good plan executed now is better than a perfect plan next week. I may not know what the perfect plan is, but let me suggest a good plan. Consider the possibility of A, buying price protection at $15 to $25 per head when margins are slim, You simply buy all the protection you can for that price, whatever it turns out to be. It basically becomes a fixed cost that you budget in every year, and have a specific timetable to get it done too. On purchase cattle, have your price protection in place within 2 weeks of buying them. On home raised cattle, get the price protection for your calf crop in place within 30 days of the end of calving. This takes the emotion out of your pricing strategy. And also, in years when the price margins are better, it could make sense to consider higher levels of price protection as a way of capturing that occasional good fortune. Protect against the downside markets while preserving the upside potential. Kind of makes sense, doesn't it? Getting coverage in place is a two-step process. Step one is to get a policy in place for your operation. And step two is to place coverage on specific groups of cattle when you want. You can't add cattle to a policy if it doesn't exist. We suggest getting the policy set up ahead of time, and here's why. Prices are announced each day following the close of the CBOT markets at 4 o'clock. We have then until 9 a.m. the following morning to key in your request for coverage. We need your order by no later than 8 a.m. in order to get it entered into the USDA system. If we get an application for a policy and a request for coverage at 8 a.m., we may not have enough time to get them both put into the system before the 9 a.m. no exceptions deadline. On one final note, as we end up, if you aren't already somewhat active at your county FSA office, in order to receive the subsidy payment for LRP, you may have to visit your county office and complete an AD 1026 conservation compliance form to be eligible to receive those subsidies. Thank you for watching this video. And if you'd like to follow up, please feel free to contact us by email at office@agdefenserm.com or call the office at 580-454-4367, and we'll get you in touch with one of our agents so we can help you in any way possible.